Hey, mama. So one thing I know is that we all want to be healthy and for our families to be healthy. At times it feels impossible, especially if you live here in the US like me, but I'm here to say it is possible. And in today's episode, I chat with Saríce Holley, who is a registered dietitian nutritionist. Oh my gosh, try to say that 3 times. But we chat all about how to adopt healthy eating habits as a family. We dive into everything from emotional eating to navigating having children who are picky eaters. Now, this was such a great conversation, and I know that you are going to gain a lot out of it. So let's go ahead and jump into today's interview. Hey, mama. Are you tired of feeling stressed and overwhelmed trying to grow your online business with your babies at home? You desire more flexibility in your day, allowing you to pour into your family, yourself, and your business without running yourself into the ground. Mama, you can build your dream business and do it in a way that fits your current season of life. And I'm going to show you exactly how. Welcome to the Mama Turned Mompreneur podcast. I'm your host, Andrea Singletary, daughter of the king, wife, mama of 2, and life and business coach for mompreneurs. On this podcast, you will learn business strategies made for mamas just like you, who desire to be successful CEOs and fully present mamas without stress or overwhelm. So whether you're an entrepreneur who transitioned to a mompreneur or a mama turned mompreneur, I am here to support you. So grab your coffee, notebook, and pen, put in those earbuds, and let's dig in. All right, today on the Mama Turned Mompreneur podcast, I am sitting down to chat with Saríce Holley, and we are going to be talking about adopting healthy eating habits as a family. So Saríce, welcome to the show. Please tell us about yourself, who you are, what you do, and all about your family.
So my name is Saríce. I'm a registered dietitian and mom of one little wild toddler, 2-year-old. And yeah, so previously, before I became a mompreneur, I was working mainly in like the public health sector. I used to work as a food lunch inspector. I would go to schools and make sure that the lunches abided by the Ministry of Health standards. And that was something that I found really valuable now as a mom feeding her child, because like I learned in school, like, about child nutrition, but it's the difference between learning like the technical aspects, like how much fiber they need, how much carbs and fats, than actually dealing with the creature in front of you that has opinions, has like, objections. And so that the tools that I learned working in that field really helped me today as a mom. And I also worked with women as well, and especially in like diabetes prevention. I've worked in a few clinical studies in the diabetes field, and also in a nationwide study to help prevent diabetes without like medication, with only lifestyle factors. So it was basically me and a personal trainer, and I did that for 5 years. And then I became a mama, and I decided to go out on my own and start my own business, and that's how I met you.
Yeah, I love your background, and it's amazing how like we can utilize like our education and our experience and take that and start our own businesses and whatnot. But that's an amazing background. And so kind of diving into today's topic, I know that you're a firm believer in adopting healthy eating habits over dieting. And so talk to us a little bit like why you feel dieting is problematic.
Yeah. So dieting, I don't even like, there's like this whole controversy in my field of gets like dietitian versus nutritionist. You guys don't want to get into that drama, nerd drama. But like, so like a dietitian has more like, we have the background to check like blood work and do more like paramedical things. Whereas a nutrition, she could get a certification or not, depending on like the state or country you're from. But I'm always mad that like I'm a dietitian, and I much more prefer the word nutritionist, because I care about like nourishing the body and not focusing on a diet, because I feel like that word diet is so like loaded these days, and it can also be triggering to some people, especially people who've dealt with like weight issues their whole life, and they hear that word diet. It can also sound like something that's like temporary. Like they'll tell me, yeah, I'm going to do this diet right now so I can lose weight. And I'm like, no, 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 no. Especially now. I'm like, we're grown now. We're not
Mm-hmm.
doing anything that we can't do for the rest of our lives. So I'm all about finding ways to nourish our body in ways that are sustainable. So that's why I like, nutrition over diet, because nutrition is like a way of eating that suits you and your lifestyle and your food preferences. And it's something that you can do long term, whereas a diet is like, I'm going to do this now to achieve some superficial goal
Mm-hmm.
temporarily and then go back to like my bad habits. So just finding ways to gradually incorporate healthy habits. And as a result of that, you get things like maybe you improve your blood sugar, your cholesterol, weight loss. And those things just are a result of improving your lifestyle, not your main result was like weight loss or something. So
I love that. Yeah, I love your view and your take on it because it's true. Like, it needs to be a lifestyle change, not like, oh, I have this party to go to and I want to wear this outfit. Let me get on this crazy diet to try to drop so many pounds. But then it's like you end up gaining the weight back really fast
exactly.
anyway. So it's like it wasn't even worth it. But when you develop that lifestyle change and really just thinking, I think, especially when you step into motherhood and it's like, I want to live to see my kids, go to college, get married, be able to be a grandparent and everything. And so you have to
Yes.
really think about it as a lifestyle change versus, oh, let me get on this diet, try to lose some weight real quick.
Right. Oh my gosh, that you spoke to something that speaks to me so much. It's like when I had my son, that was my main goal for working out. And like I told my husband this, I was like, oh my gosh, because I went to this is like after I had my son, it was like a year where I used to be active and then I became a mom and I was just like not active at all for like almost a year. No, not almost a year, a little over a year. And I remember I was going to the playground with him and I was out of breath. And I told my husband, I was like, oh my gosh, I want to get in shape again so I can run around with him in the park and not be out of breath.
Yes.
And that's when I got signed up to the gym and I was like that was my goal. I said, I want to be able to, I'm an older mom relatively. And I said, I want to have more children and I want to see their children. So I have to take care of myself. So I was so happy that I was like, all that superficial, more like vanity reasons to
Mm-hmm.
exercise are totally gone. Now it's all about longevity and how I can
Yes.
move and be mobile and everything is at age and, and see my son grow up and however many more children I have.
Yes, exactly. So I know that many moms, and I've dealt with this too, but have struggled with emotional eating. And so can you discuss the concepts of mindful and intuitive eating and how they can help moms develop a healthier relationship with food?
Yes, this is something that I hear a lot from women and men. And this is
Mhm.
something that I've experienced personally. It was part of my, before I even understood what it was, that I dealt with this. And then through my studies, I was like, oh man, that's what I go through when I'm a little bit bored or when I'm studying and I'm anxious. I'm not even really hungry and I was just reaching for food. So one of the things that helps the most for me and my clients is developing some type of practice that can break the friction. And I'll explain because a lot of times that emotional eating, it comes on autopilot. We don't even think about it. It's not like you think, oh, I'm bored. And then it's like sometimes you just mindlessly go to the refrigerator or you just finish a bag of cookies or chips and not even think about it. And then it's gone. And so I always like to tell them to implement something that it's going to be that thing that adds a little bit of friction or a pause before you do the action. So I have a few examples for this. So one was one client, she had a problem with emotional eating. She would come home, she wouldn't eat lunch. And then she would come home and she would just be you come home and you kind of that weight of the day comes off of you and you relax a
Yeah.
little bit. And then
You
she realized,
decompress.
yeah. And then she said, then she would describe it as like a monster would awaken. And she said she would eat so much and then she would feel really bad. And so one thing, two things that we did, but the first thing I told her, okay, I want you to eat lunch. And not only eat lunch, I want you to pack a snack that you eat before you come home.
Mm.
So she was at first she was afraid because one of her goals was to lose some body fat. And I'm like, no, I was like, it's better for you to have like structured meals rather than eating 1,000 calories when you come home. I'm like, the little sandwich before you come home isn't going to hurt your goals. So that's what she did. Like she would eat a proper lunch. And then before she would come home, she would have like a yogurt, some fruit and some nuts. And then I told her, like, don't even go to the living room. As soon as you come home, go to your room, go to the bed and lay down for 5 minutes. It doesn't have to, it can be something else for you, but this was like for her 5 minutes. She could listen to a guided meditation. She could just be with her thoughts, but like really put a timer and make that your habit. You want to break that habit loop. Her habit loop was I open the door when I get home from work and I go to the refrigerator. So we had to reroute that route, and then she went to the room. And that was something that worked for her. She went to the room and and just from that, she was achieving the results that she wanted. Even though she like thought, oh no, you're adding food to me. I'm like, no, you're eating way more. So she relaxed, she unwind, she wasn't stressed. And then she wasn't, starving. And then she could go to the kitchen and make a proper meal like a normal person, so that was something that was helpful for her. I also had another client that we did, she's like really into photography, and meal journaling is something that us dietitians, we recommend a lot. So for her, I told her to do a photo food journal. And she was someone who inspired me to recommend this to all of my clients. It's even in my mom wellness roadmap, like I'll mention later, but that was her thing. She would just throughout the whole day, she would take a picture of her meals, but not in it wasn't in like the Instagram type of way. I think it's like, I was thinking about it more as like a mindfulness practice. Instead of writing it, taking a picture of it, you get more of this visual of your food. And then you can think about, okay, what do I feel about this plate? You can like kind of visually quantify it and see if you're like proud of this meal or not so proud of this meal. And it's like a mindful moment. Like instead of just as soon as you get your plate, start eating, it's also breaking that friction. You pause, take a picture of it, and then it gives you a second to get out of autopilot and think about what you're about to eat. So that was something that was helpful for her. And then I started using this for a lot of people afterwards.
That's awesome. I love how you use something that she essentially does in her everyday life. Like she obviously loves photography and everything, but to use it to kind of help her develop, those healthier eating habits and stuff like that. That's pretty cool. I love how you guys came up with that and were able to implement it.
Yeah, she really like took it. She would make collages at the end of the week and all types of things. But it was really it was fun for her and a mindful moment. So it was something that she could stick to because it wasn't a task. Like if I would have told her to write it down, she wouldn't stick to it.
Yeah, you found a way for her to stick with it, but also enjoy doing it. So I think that was really smart to do.
Yeah.
So I know many of us mamas, we have picky eaters at home. So give us all your tips and strategies for encouraging our picky eaters to try new foods.
Yes, yeah. This is so you should differentiate between like the average picky eater. This is something that I'm like professionally able to deal with. But then you also have something like extremely picky eaters, and this is more like kids who also are, they have other developmental issues. So that's something else, and you can go to another professional for that. But just the average picky eater that I dealt with, like my son, and on the food system, like in the school system here. So some of the things that we incorporated when I worked in the lunch program was letting them have some independence. Sometimes parents, we feel like we have to make them eat. Like you'll realize that if you don't tell them eat this and you just put it on the table, sometimes they'll try it, especially if they're influenced by like a sibling or by you. It's kind of hard to like tell your children to eat broccoli when you don't eat broccoli. So you also want to model that too. Another thing that helped was giving them, that's another layer of independence, but also letting them serve themselves. So that was something that worked in the lunch program. Like we served the kids like lentils for the first time. And then the teachers were like, oh, no kid is going to touch that. But we put like fruits and vegetables and like whole grain. We put it in the center of the table, and we didn't serve them. We told them, let the kids choose what they're going to do. So the kids would and this is something that a family can do too. Like I like to do this, put the food in the center of the table. I don't know. This is also like culturally more acceptable here too. But, and then let the kid, maybe they'll take a spoonful and they'll try it and they might not like it, but maybe they will. And also you want to do this a few times, because there are a lot of foods that the first time they eat them, they're not going to like them, but you want to expose them to the foods a few times. Like my son hated avocado the first time he ate it, but I kept serving him avocado and now he loves avocado. The same with bananas. I think the texture, he didn't like it. And then now he loves these things. So you want to give them a little of independence. You want to keep trying, and also involve them in the kitchen. I find that when you let them help, like preparing food, they're more willing to help. They're more willing to try because they were like a part of the process. They help to like, even if it's, you don't have to be like a Nara Smith and make everything from scratch. Even if it's something as simple as like pouring some granola in a bowl and letting them help you, like they help you put the, like my son, like he'll help me make oatmeal. That's so quick, like quick oats. I'll let him put the oatmeal inside, put a little bit of milk, a little bit of water, a banana, cinnamon. So simple. And then because he made it, he's like eager to try it. He wants to try because he made it. Like in his mind, he did everything by himself. So that's another tip. Involve them in the process. That'll make them more like excited to try. Also, you want to, and I know this is kind of annoying, but reduce the amount of processed foods that you bring into the house, because in the end of the day, it's hard to compete with like Doritos, broccoli and Doritos. Doritos are going to win every time.
Yeah.
Because the thing is like the processed foods, they're designed to be, delicious and have us craving more. And have us craving more all the time. And they're also, I like how someone explained this. She said they're predictable. Little fish crackers and chips and everything, they taste the same and they don't disappoint. Every chip will taste similarly to each other. But when you give someone, like even a steak can taste different depending on which part you're eating. Blueberries can taste different from blueberry to blueberry. One might be a little squishier one. So you want to get them, their tongue, their palate used to that type of variety. And if they're eating processed foods the majority of the time, you won't allow them to even want to, get used to that. And I give my son, he eats crackers and he eats chips sometimes too, but those are like, treats and not something that's like a major part of his diet. So I know, like, I'm not trying to shame or any mom who gives her sons treats. It's like, you can choose to or not, but make sure that I'm always for the 80-20 rule. 80% who in business, in diet and everything, if 80% is good, then you'll be there. You're over halfway there. You're doing great.
I love those tips. And honestly, it's so true. My son, he is on the spectrum. And it's funny because at home, he sticks to like core foods. But at school, he will eat whatever they serve at school. Like the past week, because I still send lunch for him, but the past week, like his full lunch has been coming home. And I'm like, dude, are you eating at school? Like, what is going on? So I talked to the teacher. She's like, oh yeah, he's been eating the breakfast here and the lunch here. And I'm like, really? But he sees his peers doing it. And so he's trying lots of different foods and whatnot. And like my daughter, she watches him and will, like, anytime he asks for something, she wants what he has too. So that peer pressure is so true. And then I love what you shared too about getting them involved in the process. I started having my son help out, like even just like seasoning the broccoli. We'll do like our loaded baked potatoes. We'll do them in the air fryer. So I'll help them have like put on the olive oil and get it all ready to go in the air fryer. And they love being a part of the process and being able to do it and everything. But it's so true. Like if they're involved in it and they're seeing the different foods and actually like getting to touch the foods and stuff like that, they'll be more open to try it. So I love those strategies that you share.
Yeah, and I like that. I think that's you just should reinforce that positive peer pressure.
Yeah.
Because I know that that's something that I've heard from parents before, where they tell me that their parents eat at their children eat at school more than they eat at home. That's like a common phenomenon that I hear all the time. And I'm like, well, yeah, like they have. It's the change. It's a different environment. They have their peers eating their food, so it's like, yeah, that reinforcement. And I have one more. If your kids aren't very keen on eating vegetables, like you can find different like recipes to hide veggies in, because fiber is really important. Like when they're adults, yeah, or teenagers, protein does have a role, but at young ages, like until they're like 7, 2 eggs is like all the protein that they need in a day. Like they only need like 13 grams of protein, which is easily achieved. But in these ages, it's more important to get enough fiber for their gut microbiome, so they have a strong immune system, so they're regular. So I like to use different ways to because my son every week he changes his preferences for vegetables. He's only consistent with like cucumbers and carrots, but one week he loves bell peppers, the next week he throws them. But I'll use them in different sauces. Like if he loves pasta, and so you can make a pasta sauce that's like tomato based, but if you add some carrots, bell peppers, and everything, you don't even taste them. They'll just think it's like regular pasta sauce, or like a type of casserole or something, and you add different veggies into it, and they don't really notice it because it's like blended into everything. So find more ways to get fiber, and also the fruits and the nutrients, the vitamins, minerals, antioxidants from the vegetables.
I love that. Yeah, those hidden veggies come in handy.
I even made savory waffles, like these spinach waffles.
Oh.
They were savory, and he really liked them. And they were green. They looked cool to him. We called them Hulk waffles, and he helped me. So he thought he was the Hulk.
That's so cute. Okay. So what advice do you have for the mom who maybe she finds herself cooking different meals for her family based on their preferences? How can she simplify her meal planning and her cooking so that way she's only cooking one meal for the whole family?
Oh yes, I know this. So yeah, I used to believe, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm not going to make a different meal for my child. He's going to eat whatever we're eating. And for the most time that he's come around to like everything, but then there's some days where he's like, no, I'm not eating couscous. I want rice, or I want pasta. But when I'm meal prepping in general, I don't like to eat the same thing every day. We're all busy moms. I like to make a few things ahead. So, and I like to make 2 carbs just so I have variety, 2 veggies, and then 2 proteins. So I would just prep just in case. I'll do one that I know my son's gonna like for sure. He likes pasta, rice are always okay. And then I'll do another more healthier one, like buckwheat or quinoa or something that I know that me and my husband will enjoy, but we'll eat the other one too. So that's you're still making 2, but it's something that you would eat also. So you're not working twice. If that helps. That's the best solution that I've found so far. Yeah, or 2 veggies. I'll make sure it's one that he likes for sure. And then the other veggie, I'm like, okay, it'll be a Russian roulette. Maybe he does, maybe he's not. If not, there's one that he likes already. But when I meal prep 2-3 days ahead, I do 2-3 days at a time, I always make sure it's we're all eating it, but I just know that one option of each category is going to be something that he likes for sure. So it's
smart.
Already ready if he decides that he doesn't like buckwheat today.
Okay, I like that. So one question I have recently started asking my guests is, who is one coach or mentor who has had a major impact on your journey as an entrepreneur?
That's a good question. So, wow, there are a few that I can think of. But there was so I remember when I just decided that I wasn't going back to work, and back to my 9 to 5, and I said I'm going to do this on my own, and I was looking for different resources, and there were a lot of bros yeah, you do this and hustle, and I was oh, that is I wasn't so relatable to me at all. And then I happened to be like on YouTube, this business coach, Rachel Rogers, she popped up on my screen, and then I was listening to her, and she was like, I like related to it so much to her story, because she also had like a child, and she was and after her husband came back from work, she was like working on her business. So that was someone who like inspired me. She gave me hope. Like, I was like, okay, I can do this. They're like moms who managed to do this as well.
Mm-hmm.
And you're actually one too. When you were on my podcast, really, I'm not trying to, but when you were on my podcast, I liked your story because I like how you like show you like you were somebody who exemplified that you don't have to stick to the thing just because you started it. You can pivot, and it's okay. Because that's something that I did too. I like started with one thing, and then a year later I was like, okay, I feel more comfortable in this lane. I'm a mom now, so that's just who I want to serve. I didn't stay stuck to like what I, thought I had to do. And I can make a few more, but I won't go too drawn out. One that I've never met, and one that I've actually met. And just so you know, I don't know if this, but I was interviewing people for my podcast, and I had someone tell me that they really liked your episode. That they were telling me the same thing, that they liked. Yeah, they really liked your episode. They said, "Yeah, I like that she like, she switched to this, and she made her business fit her momhood." And I was like, "Yes, that's exactly what I got from you."
I'm glad I was able to encourage you guys, because I am definitely the queen of pivoting.
Yeah, but like, in a way that's like empowering.
Yes. Okay, so tell us about your free resource that you have for the listeners.
So I have two. One is more for the moms. If there's any mom that she's feel like she's kind of neglected her health right now, her nutrition, and she's not sure how to get it back. I have this like roadmap for moms. It's a mini email course where every week you get an email, short and sweet, with one task that you can do for the week, one simple task. And by the end of the 8 weeks, you have 8 habits that you incorporate into your life, that doesn't take too much time, and it'll get you results. So that's one. That's for the mamas out there. And then I also have one for the parents, but more geared for the children. It's just like 10 tips to how to cultivate healthy eaters. And it mentions some of the stuff we mentioned today, plus some more tips.
Okay. Well, I'm definitely going to sign up for both of those. Okay, Saríce. Well, thank you so much just for really just sharing with us great tips about, developing healthy eating habits and making things somewhat easier on ourselves as moms trying to raise healthy eaters. Please share with listeners where they can connect with you and learn more about your services.
Sure. So you can go to my website, SaríceHolley.com. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Saríce Holley. Same everywhere. Oh, and shout out my podcast, Maternity Leave. Check out the episode with yours truly, Andrea.
Yes, check out her podcast. So many great interviews, and then you started doing solo episodes too. But it is really, if you are a mom in business, that podcast is for you.
Yeah, thanks.
You're welcome. I will make sure to link all of that in the show notes.
Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me to be on your podcast. It's been a pleasure.
You're welcome. I truly enjoyed having you on the podcast. Well, Mama, that's a wrap on today's episode. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to hang with me. If you enjoyed today's episode, will you do me a favor and follow the podcast and leave a review? Hitting that follow button and sharing your thoughts about the podcast are the best ways to ensure that other mamas like you find this show. Your review also lets me know if you're enjoying this podcast, so make sure to share your thoughts before you go. All right, Mama, I'll catch you in the next episode.